Welcome to JustWannaQuilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Elizabeth Townsend Guard, your host, and I just want to quilt. So today we're talking to Janna Thomas. She is the genius behind BlocLoc. Now, BlocLoc is a bunch of rulers, but it's more than that. It's a way to make your quilting a little more perfect, which if you've listened to this podcast at all, I am not a perfect quilter, but I'm coming closer with their system. So Janna sent me a triangle and a square, and also another tool for half square triangles, and I've tried the triangle and the square, and it's really cool. So anyway, we're going to talk to her more about her company, her philosophy. She's done a ton of interesting stuff, and a little bit more about the tools. So let's begin. Tell me your name and where you are today.
I'm Janna Thomas, and our offices and warehouses are in Loveland, Colorado.
Awesome. Colorado. So nice. And you are the brains and inventors behind BlocLoc, right?
Well, actually, it's my husband and
Your
I.
husband, right. So tell me a little bit about tell me about what BlocLoc is and the relationship between you and your husband on what you did with BlocLoc.
Okay. Well, the story goes back to 2006 at Thanksgiving, and my mother showed up with my dad to Thanksgiving dinner, and she put duct tape on another ruler, and she was saying, "This darn thing is rocking and flipping, and I can't see through the duct tape." And so my husband, because he is an aircraft engineer, or was an aircraft engineer for Qantas Airlines, he left the dinner table and went out to the garage and filed a groove in the ruler. And, of course, he put it in the wrong place. And I had to say, "No, honey, it goes over here." But that's when we knew we had something.
That's really great.
That's actually when BlocLoc was born, yeah.
That's really cool. And then what did you do when you realized that you had something? Like, what was the process, and which BlocLoc did you start with?
Okay, well, we started with a half-square triangle, and we figured out that we couldn't just launch the product. We couldn't just go into manufacturing. We had to protect ourselves. So we got onto LegalZoom.com.
Smart.
And did all the paperwork there. And then right before we decided to actually, because we had to get our nest egg built up. So once we had our nest egg built up so that we could start the manufacturing, then we went to an actual patent attorney, and he said, "It's a good thing that you had come to him because," and I don't know the whole story behind what's the difference between LegalZoom provisional patents and patent pending. But whatever that difference was, if we had launched the rulers with just patent pending, it wouldn't have been the same.
Right, that's right.
So
it's funny because the patent, and we'll talk more about this as we get into, and we're going to start to explain things sometime soon, but the patent system's kind of interesting here in the U.S. First, it's whoever files first on an invention, so you got to sort of think about that, and then you get this 1 year. It's a provisional patent, which isn't very expensive and gives you time to sort of develop it more. But then you have to do the non-provisional, which is a little more expensive, and that's what he's probably talking about. That there's a window. So if you miss your window, you're in big trouble. And so
and if you launch without that, you're in big trouble.
That's right. So we'll talk more. That's right. So part of this project is explaining that to people so they can better understand it, which we'll do soon. And we're really interested in rulers because we find that there's some rulers that are patentable and some rulers that aren't. And your system is. So tell us what is special about your rulers that allowed you to apply for a patent.
Well, it's the actual locking on of the seam that is patentable.
Yeah.
And so the groove has to be a certain width and a certain height. to accommodate the 4 layers in the seam allowance so that when you're trimming, it always comes out, and this is kooky, but it comes out to within 1/1000th inch accuracy.
Amazing.
And so, yeah, it takes an aircraft engineer to pull that off. And so we actually went through the patent office, and we had a big fight on our hands for a long time. They, the patent office person, patent attorney there, she felt like our BlocLoc was more like a miter box. And we said, no, it's not like a miter box. And then she thought it was conflicting with Susan Cleveland's hot binding tool. And we said, no, it's not like that. That's working differently. And so it actually took us 8 years of fighting to own the groove. And we finally got approval last year.
Wow.
So we own the groove. Yes, we own the groove for locking onto seam allowances.
That's
so
really
it doesn't matter if it's for a half square triangle or the other units that we have, whether it's curved or not, we own those.
That's really cool. Now, how does that make your business different by having that patent in place? Why is that important to your business?
Well, it means that there's no competition.
Yeah.
And if there is competition, then we can drive them out because we own that patent. We've had probably 5 attempts on other companies or individuals trying to come out with a groove driller.
That's really
and we've
amazing.
had to explain to them that they can't do that because we own it. And so it's really important to have that advantage, you know.
It really is. It's super important. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing you sent me, so you sent me what did you send me? Send me triangle in a square, and I have a story to tell you about that in just a second. But it came with a 4x4 square with the grooves, and a triangle with like little cutouts at the bottom, and then like a side piece that when you put it together, it makes a square. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what you've patented is the locking system, but not the shapes.
Yes.
Not the other shapes. Is that right?
No, you don't own the shape. No.
Yeah. You don't own the shape. It's the technology that's allowing for the system to develop.
Yes.
Yeah.
So by locking on, especially like the triangle and the square, all BlocLoc rulers where there are 2 seams or 2 grooves coming together to a point.
Yeah.
It's ever so slightly wider across that top edge as well, so that the quilters are successful in trimming an oversized unit and they'll never lose their point across the top.
All right, so I have to tell you, I have to tell you a story. So I've been working I haven't tried the other one yet, but I'm doing triangle and a square. And you don't know me very well, but I am a very enthusiastic, quilter that quilts way too late at night when I'm very tired and makes a lot of mistakes. That's who I am. So I was like, okay, it seemed really hard and confusing, but it wasn't really hard and confusing. So that was really interesting. But I found you BlocLoc. So let me step back and I was at some quilt event and someone was talking about BlocLoc and how much it had changed their life and they couldn't believe it. And so all these people were buying it. And I thought, well, I want to talk to the company. I want to know more about this amazing thing. So I did it and it was amazing. So my quilting, I couldn't believe that, they were all turning out. Even in my midnight, I should be sleeping quilting, it was okay. And so I'm now making the full... I know. I'm like I'm like a commercial for you. If you see my other stuff, it's but it's perfect. And your phrase, let me see, what is your phrase? I really liked your phrase. I thought it was funny at first, but now I completely believe in it. It was, what's your motto? Your motto is, where's your motto? We believe in quilter's bliss. And I have to say, I had some blissful moments, which I don't usually have when I'm piecing. I usually have very stressful moments. So I am a convert to the system.
Oh, good.
It was really awesome. So I'm making now I'm using, which one am I using? I'm using so I have a couple questions about that. So then I have one more part of the story, because you've heard this story 1,000 times, but I just couldn't believe it, because, I've been testing out all these, not testing, but experiencing all these different systems, and I was like, yeah, I don't know, we'll see how it's going to go. But then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. And it didn't take very long, and everything turned out, and nothing was weird, and my points are always weird. So I'm doing Whirl of the World, which is part of the... Yeah, it was great. It's so great. Anyway, so then, I know, there's more to the story. So then I took this... So I thought, I had to go to a quilting event on Saturday, and I didn't want to lug my machine because it's really big and heavy, and I didn't even know if we're supposed to bring our machine. So I thought, I'll just bring the rest of the fabric because now I'm going to make the full quilt. So I took the 3 pieces and the rest of my fabric and a rotary cutter, and I was the hit of the party. Everybody wanted to know about BlocLoc, and it was really funny because I just thought, well, if I only had like a whole bunch of here, I could sell them to everybody. It was so funny because everybody wanted to know what I was doing. So that's my story. I was like such a convert. It was amazing. It's a great product. It really is.
Well, we love hearing it. We love making people happy. And I got to tell you, Elizabeth, it made me a better quilter because my book, Courtship Quilts, had just been accepted, and it was printed 4 months after my husband and I were married, so it's under my maiden name. And I thought at the time I was pretty good at what I was doing, right? Because I had been published, right? Yeah. And then after we came out with BlocLoc and doing all this stuff, and I look back at my old quilts and I'm going, oh my gosh, that was nothing compared to what I can do with a BlocLoc.
It's amazing.
It just makes everything so much better.
And the first time I thought, well, it's going to waste a lot of fabric because it's these templates. And I've been reading, so this project's gotten out of hand. So I'm reading quilters' newsletters from 1977. I'm in like 1978 right now. So they're in 77, 78, they're advertising all these templates and all that. So, but I thought, but I got it down. I watched the video and it was totally easy. And all my cutting, which is always terrible because it's the middle of the night that I'm sewing, it was great too. So, I mean, the system was like, it was bliss. It made me feel like I wasn't a crappy quilter, which is really, there's a terrible feeling when you feel like you really want to do it, but it doesn't turn out. So I'm totally a convert. So that's my story.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I've totally loved it. So, so I have a couple. Yeah, go ahead. So I have a couple of questions.
Are you there?
Yeah. The preparation, the beginning of the book, you say you have a big thing about preparation, and I want to know, I didn't do it, but I want to know if I should do it and why is it going to make it better? Like why is putting it all in starch and, why do that part of it?
Oh, great question. Well, I don't think I would do anything without the combination of BlocLoc and starched fabric, because the starch, heavy starch, it stabilizes the bias before it's ever cut or sewn on.
Got it.
And I get it to the point where I can fold that fabric. It folds like paper. It won't stretch. It won't distort. When I'm pressing, it doesn't distort. And once I've starch my yardage, I don't spray starch on it after that. But boy, I'll tell you, it just turns out fantastic because it's also pre-shrunk a little bit. Sometimes, if you want to wash your fabric, you can do that, but just make sure you starch absolutely everything that's going into the quilt top, and then you won't have the stretching and distortion, and your blocks will look flatter.
Yeah. So my blocks still aren't perfect, but they're a lot better. So I think I'm going to try that next time, to see how that works. So I was impatient. So.
Well, and I had a lady in a class last week, and she didn't starch, and she said, I know you said to starch. And when she was looking at the other ladies, their yardage, she said, okay, I see what you mean. It's going to help.
Yeah. Well, I'll try that. I really will. Yeah, so it's just kind of, I know it's hard to imagine that this is different, but it really is different. It's really, so I really, so I'm really psyched. I really appreciate you sending me the samples, and we can chat more about. I would love to either do like a coupon or a giveaway, or just encourage people to just go to your website and try it, because it is. I mean,